Here we go. Jack Summerfield here. We're going to try another interview here. We had some problems the last time. I don't know if we'll put that up, but this one looks great. There's no issues with delay, and we're ready to go. So, Jack, thanks for doing this.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Sure. So, you've been a drummer for a long time. You've studied drums. So, talk about your early days, how you got influenced to play the drums.
Early days of influence. A very good question, Dennis. Probably rhythm and playing is something that I've always been doing. Like, you talk to my parents, and I've always been a kid that was just tapping on toys, or there'd always be like a xylophone or something like that.
Right.
The kid's toy. I'd always be playing with that. Or it'd be dinner time, for example, family dinner time, cutlery on the table, just playing the plate.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until I hit about 10 years old, round about that time, my parents took me to see, and my brother, we went on a family trip into London to see the Lion King musical.
Oh, okay.
And I was asking the whole way through the show, like, oh, what's that sound? What's this sound?
Yeah.
What's that doing? Like, trying to figure out what all these sounds I was hearing were. It was as well, like, it was the first live show I'd really ever been to. And I was an absolute nuisance, so I apologize sincerely to the couples that were around.
No, it's funny.
Just talking the whole way through. And it was always percussive sounds and drums that were just grabbing my attention. Nothing to do with the show or anything like that.
That's funny.
So we went down to the pit at the end of the show, peered over the edge and waved at the musicians and stuff like that. But never in my dreams would have thought that it'd be something I'd do later down the line. But it was like, this looks like fun, right in my ballpark. Let's give it a go. And then a few years later of constant nagging, drum lessons came around. And through those years as well, up to that point, Dad would always have the stereo on in the car if we were doing like family trips and stuff like that. So great British bands like Squeeze and Madness.
Oh, they were great.
And my dad was a bit of a punk rocker as well. So, Sex Pistols, The Clash.
Oh, okay.
All that's my musical history with family. Mum's a big ABBA fan and Elton John fan. So there was a lot of that there as well. But after that, it was kind of free reign of, you're at school, different people listen to different things. There's a lot of kids that I used to hang out with. Everyone was always listening to like the new pop song. And then there was other groups of friends that'd be like, oh, you've got to check this band out. I found them in like some old grunge band. And it's like, you're 12-year-old.
Yeah.
All of a sudden discover Nirvana. And it's just like, yeah.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, my generation, my band I really loved was Gang of Four back in the day. I mean, there's some videos up. That band was just incredible, those early days. But so you studied music at school? Did you go to college for music?
So I studied with a local drum teacher in my area, a local player called Graham Gum. We keep in touch every now and again. He's a fantastic guy. Gave me a lot of like the foundations of everything and really got me started. And then I never did music or anything like that at school, weirdly enough. Like I didn't do like a qualification. Like we have GCSEs.
Right.
I guess you would call it like 6th grade level. I think that's how it translates. And then we get college where we do our A levels. And I didn't do any of that. I didn't go to study music there. I kept studying privately with Graham. And it got to that turnaround point of trying to figure out, college and university.
Right.
And Graham went, you're good at this. Why don't you just see what happens?
Yeah.
And to me, that was like, woo, let's do it.
That's smart. Yeah, why not?
Conversation with family and family go, ooh, a musician. Are you sure?
Yeah. That's always a tough choice for parents. There's, oh, no, you're going in that field. Why can we don't want to be a lawyer or a doctor?
Exactly.
But that's what it is.
My parents were very loving and very supportive. And they've always said to my brother and I, whatever you do in life, do what you love.
That's great. Yeah, that's
as long
really
as you
good.
love it, like that's the you shouldn't be chasing the paychecks. You want to be chasing fulfillment because your life should have more happiness.
you've got the passion for it. You have to have passion for something, and music especially.
Yeah.
If you're not passionate about playing or doing, then forget it. You're wasting your time.
Yeah, man.
So
And so from there, it was okay. Well, let's do this. I went to an academy, met some amazing musicians over the time I was there. Was tutored by some industry greats in the UK while I was there. Pete Riley, to name one particular, he was Guthrie Govan's drummer at the time.
right,
Absolutely phenomenal player. Toby Drummond is another name. He, again, phenomenal guy, in and out of the West End, like every day, just doing different shows. Phenomenal
oh
player.
wow,
Joe Yoshida, he was big in the session scene at the time, doing pop stuff. So many people, so many people, and that's just the drum tutors, not including like singing teachers or guitar teachers and stuff like that. It was really was such a great place to be, and such a diverse.
Now, were you
building.
learning? Were you learning chart? Were you learning charts too? Drum charts? I mean,
We did everything. We covered technical ability to shorthand learning songs, like cheat sheets and stuff like that, to full reading, music theory, just like outside of drums, like harmony and stuff like that. We covered all of that. We did music business, and creative development, songwriting. There was anything you can think of. You were put into the room and you studied it.
now were you learning other instruments like marimba or xylophone, or were you playing any of those?
No, just the course I was on was specifically to play drums.
Okay.
I worked on piano behind the scenes because I wanted to get my theory up to scratch and figure out
Right.
and stuff like that. Because I'd always tinkled around, but never really done anything properly with it. So, and I like, even now, it's like I can get by, but it's not a proficiency as such.
Well, if you have the technical ability on drums and feel the rhythm, then piano comes pretty naturally. It's almost like a percussion instrument anyway.
To a degree. And it's
It's a
really funny
hammer.
because it's like I play guitar and I can't get my fingers in the right place on the guitar. Like, it drives me insane. But you put me
Yeah.
on the piano and it's like, okay, we can mash out these chords and
Yeah, I
extend
think it's easier
like
for
that.
drummers to learn that. I've played keyboards after drums, and it's just comes like naturally.
Oh, okay. I wonder if there's something in that. There must be a study about it somewhere.
I don't know. There must be, but that's the foundation. You find a lot of great artists start playing drums at first. I think Peter Gabriel started playing drums,
Mm-hmm.
and then he became like a lead singer and did other playing piano and keyboards.
Yeah.
So, was your first bands was it cover bands you played in that when you started getting out into the world of playing?
Initially, when I started, it was always originals. I
Oh, that's great.
just reveled in the creative aspects and putting out there what I wanted to put out there. I wasn't interested at the time in trying to sound like anyone else. I wanted to play. Selfishly, I
That's
wanted to play
unique.
my drum parts, and it was like, okay, well, I was stealing bits from people.
Right.
I was listening to Gavin Harrison play, and I'd be listening to Craig Blundell play, and Jeff Beccaro and Gad, all those guys, and just like picking out the bits that I liked, but I wanted to put my voice forward. So it was always originals projects.
That's
Um,
great. That's important.
and I needed that creative outlet. And when
Yeah.
it came to doing like covers work, for example, I kind of had a detest towards it initially. It was like, this isn't what I'm here for. This isn't fun. I didn't find it fun.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I got older and matured and kind of hit my early 20s and kind of went, actually, no, there's a lot to be said for this. Because,
there
you
is.
sit down on a job and play something and you sound like the player, like there's a lot to be said for that. That's
It
hard.
is. So
And
what
especially
would
when you're sitting down and you're going into sort of
yeah.
like Steve Gadd world or Vinnie Colaiuta world, if you can sit down and sound like those guys,
Yeah.
that's such an achievement. Because like, you don't have their hands. You can sit down at their kit the way it's tuned for them. There's for example, a really good drum tech friend of mine, a guy called Rob. He was doing some shows, not technically with Steve Gadd, but he was there oh, let me have a tinkle around on your drums. And Gad goes, yeah, you go for it. I'm not playing them. So Rob sits down. It's just like, I can't make this sound good. Like, it sounds bad.
Oh,
I know what I do. And even if he's just sitting down playing 2 and 4, he's like, I just can't get it to sound good. And then Steve Gadd sits down and just goes, what are you talking about? He's just, God, it sounds fantastic.
yeah.
It's his kit, it's his touch. You know, it's one of those things. If you can do that, that's such a. And I've then spent off the back of that a lot of years trying to replicate and sound like the players I want to sound like, as well as have like my flavor and my thing of what I do. Because that's still important to me. It was
It
just
is. I imagine.
of people that I could then go and work for. Because it's like if you do your thing, it's niche, and it's not so flexible for a lot of musical applications. Where if you can show that you can do all the other things, like that phone will start ringing.
That's true. Yeah, and if you have I think the importance of any musician is the dynamics. If you're able to really play with the singer and the band, fit in, play soft, know when to play loud. I mean, there's musicians that don't understand that, and that's, I think, one of the most important things to be a really good player is to listen.
No, there's 2 players that come to mind, especially in that aspect. Ash Sowen and Neil Wilkinson, like amazing studio players, but both live, they've just really got it down. Like, play for the music, know when to put the fills in, know when to just sit in the pocket and hold it down. Is one of my favorite. So Zildjian do their Zildjian live series on YouTube, and it's there's amazing drummers that come in and do those shows, like world professionals, and it's incredible the talent that gets put in that room.
Oh, I imagine.
Phenomenal. And I remember sitting down, I was watching one of the Kaz Rodriguez ones, and I've been a big fan of Kaz's for the longest time. Like, he's just so tight, so clean. He's got all the chops, but can still sit down and hold a groove down like you wouldn't believe. And I was watching his YouTube live session, and then the next one in the playlist was Ash's, and I was like, oh, well, I'll sit down and watch this. And it was 4 minutes of just Ash go, God, just holding down time. Yeah. And then in all of these sessions, there gets a break and the drummer takes a solo, and Kaz's solo is just miles out, a different planet. And Ash sits down, he gets to his solo, and it's 4 bars of just glah, glah.
How about that? Just that's it.
And then he's back off, and it's like the most minimalistic thing, but was just ideal. And it's every time I watch it, it sends a chill up my spine. I'm like, and I sit down, I'll play along, and I get to that break, and I just can't get it to sound as good.
Oh man! Well, they just had that touch. It's just something that's in their abilities to do that. One guy that comes to mind is Jim Gordon.
Mm-hmm.
He played on a lot of those early '70s records. You know, he had that touch of playing along with the music. So what was your big break that you got professionally to start this role of being all this work?
That's a tough one, because there's a couple of moments I could pick on. I think, namely, I finished my studies, and I took a contract to work on cruise ships. Right. I just wanted to get a few more. Finishing the studies, I wanted to get some chops up. I wanted to build a repertoire of material, go and travel as well, because I'd never really done that. And a lot of my friends who went to typical education, you know, they went and did degrees at proper universities and became lawyers and all that sort of stuff. They had that traveling experience and they got to go around the world and experience culture. I never did that. So I seized the opportunity to jump on ships, go travel, get paid, get my chops up. Came back and hit the jam scene in London. Just went to town. I went to everything I could.
That's great. That's how to do it.
Yeah, and I remember being upstairs at Ronnie Scott's. Ronnie Scott's has got the main downstairs venue, and then upstairs is this small like cafe bar, and they put a band in a corner basically. Really cool, really fun jams. And I remember meeting this singer, Daniel Arileno, who just absolutely blew me away. This guy's voice is the reason I turned around is because I thought Luther Vandross had walked in, and then it's not.
Oh, wow.
stage.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, absolutely not me for six. And I was just there hanging out with some friends. I wasn't planning on playing. I was a little drunk. And I cornered Daniel at the bar after he got off stage. And I said, look, I don't know who you are. I'm buying you drinks. And I'm not going to stop buying you drinks until you agree that we're going to work together.
Oh, that's amazing. That's great.
And then about a month later, Daniel called me and said, are you free? I've got this job for you. With a guy called Simon. He was the original player for a band called Talk. He was putting this group together.
Oh, I heard of him.
River. Angel River is a great pop project. Really happy I was involved with it. Met some great life friends as well through that gig. And that was kind of it. Off the back of meeting Daniel, doing the Angel River stuff, Daniel was a backing vocalist for an R&B artist called James Vickery.
Okay.
So James came to that show and he wanted to talk to me at the end of the opening show that we did with Angel River. Working with James doing Angel River, I got the opportunity to work with an artist called Plested, who's a ghostwriter for some of the biggest and best singers and songwriters around.
Wow.
And then off the back of that, just, various sessions and small bits and pieces. And it kind of gave me a leeway then to have like content to show like this is what I can do and put on the table and provide. Very big jump going from the soul, R&B and pop stuff to working with David.
Oh yeah, that's what a story that's gonna. Yeah, we got to hear that story. But let's talk about some of these other artists you played with. James Vickery, great artist, great singer,
amazing voice. Absolutely, voice. His colors
phenomenal.
Really put him on the map. Like Until Morning is such a great song.
Oh, it is. I saw it on YouTube. It's like this guy's got it.
And it's still one of the guys. There's a guy called Duncan who was working with. I don't know if they still work together. I'm sure they do. Duncan's an amazing songwriter. Works with so many artists. He's just got chords and changes and song ideas and production. Just files and files and files on his computer.
I gotta check him out.
He's phenomenal. He's a bit of a discreet guy. He's hard to find, but he's an amazing musician, amazing songwriter.
That's something how they're just natural. Some musicians are just these naturals where they just know how to play. It's in them already.
Yeah, and I always thought that was a bit of a coup. Like, oh, you're a natural at this. And
yeah,
you work hard at getting what you want out of what you do, but you do get some people that are just exceptional.
Right. So then, how about Evert Outen? Is that your friend you were saying that you?
Evert Outen, yeah,
Outen, yes,
one of my best friends. Evert, alternative blues rock artist. Again, amazing voice.
Yeah,
the way he writes and the way he arranges is I've never heard anything like it, and the range of his vocals as well. He's just a phenomenal singer.
You were mentioning a guitar player in that band. Weren't you saying something about a really
Christopher Booth. He's an amazing guitar player. I would be surprised if he's not like a household name in the next few years for guitarists. He's absolutely phenomenal. I checked in with him the other week, actually. He's been doing some fly out shows with Incognito.
Okay.
And his like big thing recently. I was trying to get him involved on some David stuff, but he's kind of not overly keen on it, which is a shame. But I'll lean on him a bit more.
I got to check him out. Does he have his own band too?
Not that I know of. I know he does a lot of sessions. I think he was doing the Tony Morello gig as well at one point.
And then this Cantatak. Is that how you pronounce it?
Carnatica?
Carnatica. Yeah. Talk about that a little bit. That's an interesting group.
That's a fantastic group. That's run by Ian and Satari, the bassist and the singer. Phenomenal duo together. Like there's nothing they can't achieve, and I love them to bits. I've got a lot of time for them. Something again very, very different, and it came off a phone call. The drummer that recorded the album Requiem for a Dream couldn't make the live shows. He had something else come up. My name got put forward. I went to the audition and got the job.
Oh, that's great.
But that album, Requiem for a Dream, is I love it. There's some tunes on there that are fantastic. But the title song, Requiem for a Dream, if I say it again, it's one of the best songs I think I've heard. It's like half an hour long. It's like Change of Seasons by Dream Theater, just way more.
Oh yeah,
less odd timey stuff going on. Just the production, the way it flows and goes from section to section. It's like listening to a story in music.
Oh, I got to hear that.
It's a beautiful piece of music. The whole album is fantastic, but that one song is just it's a work of art.
Are they going to be touring? Do they tour a lot, that band, or is this just a studio record?
No, so that album was done for the studio. They've got it on vinyl. We tour probably 2 or 3 months of the year together.
Oh, okay.
In the UK and into Europe. We want to get out and do shows in America, and we know there's an ask for it. We're just trying to figure out how to make that feasible and find the right connections that can get us over to the States.
Yeah, it's hard these days. Really
it's
tough.
Very hard. So we just did about a month ago, we did Cruise to the Edge with David. And a lot of the people that I was meeting out on ships, they would come up, we'd play a show and then people would come up and talk to you as you're wandering around. It's like, and who else do you play with? Like, if you're not playing with David, what else do you do? And so I mentioned Carnatica, and everyone's just amazed. Like, no way you play with Carnatica.
Oh, really? Wow.
I'm so shocked that this is a name out in the States, but people know who the band is. It's really lovely to hear. Ian and Nick have worked so hard behind the scenes to get the band to where it is today. We've got some shows coming up later this year. I think we're supporting IQ at some point, which is going to be really fun.
Right.
Great to play with them, with David on the cruise. Fantastic band. And we're playing some older material as well on this upcoming tour. So it's going to be nice we did the album for a couple of years to be really like, we've done this. It's an amazing piece. Like, let's just play the album.
Yeah. So now what'd you think of that cruise on the edge? You met a lot of some prog rock legends and, other people.
That was a wild experience.
I imagine.
It was interesting meeting people who you've aspired to as well for so many years. Like, seeing Craig Blundell play, for example, I've seen him play so many clinics. I've seen him at drum shows so many times, and then just watching him do those gigs is just, it's fresh every time. I love it. It's such a nice touch. He's such a proficient player. And, not just that, but like meeting other musicians as well. Getting to meet Robert Fripp and Steve Hackett and those guys. It was incredible. Such a overwhelming experience.
Yeah, that must have been. I mean, and then you have all the fans there, right, that are walking around watching the shows. I think prog, though, has got like this kind of like a heavy metal touch to it now. A lot of some of the new bands. So it is what it is these days.
Yeah, there's definitely a change in the way that prog is going. And I think David really described it quite well. I was talking to him once. This is years ago. I was talking to David about it, and it was not his words exactly, so don't quote me on this.
No, that's okay.
Like, prog at the time was more sort of like an art rock. It was prog rock and art rock. It was anything to be different and stand out. And King Crimson doing what they were doing, it was just trying to be experimental and artistic, and just you throw paint at the wall and see what looks good. And there's a lot of stuff that doesn't look good.
Right, that's true.
Whereas now, with everything getting cleaner and more precise, and productions being able to get, you can really look into the details and pick out parts of arrangements. It's definitely getting tweaked, and it's way more accurate. So prog as a whole has changed, but
oh yeah, I hear it.
It's moving, I think, into a great place for the creators of the current genre of prog, like what you can do with it and where you can take it. You know, there's a fantastic band called Animals as Leaders, and I think they're a brilliant example of what you can do in this genre. And Aristocrats with Guthrie Govan, again, an amazing example of what you can do in this genre and what you can do musically.
Wow, I don't know those bands, so this is good to hear. This is a lot of good information of groups I don't even know about, so everybody out there can check into it also. So now I want to know, how did you link up with the legendary David Cross?
To be perfectly honest, I have no idea. So 2020, we'd hit lockdown in the UK, as did, you know, the rest of the world.
Right.
And it was right as things were starting to get lifted, shows could kind of happen again. People could come out of the darkness of their lounge and bedroom. And the guy who was playing, who had the seat with David at the time, they had some shows coming up and he couldn't travel because of vaccination reasons or something like that. So I'm told. And then I got a phone call from Mick, the bassist. Just no idea who the number was. Okay, sure. It's like the first time my phone's rung in 12 months. Like, I'll pick up anything at this.
Oh, that's funny.
And I'll pick up the phone. He introduced himself. Hi, you know, I'm Mick. Would you be interested in, you know, well, it was, I really like what you do, what you've got online. You look like you know what you're doing and you've got your shit together. I've got a gig with a prog rock artist and I need a drummer for it. He was very kind of blasé initially about who it was. And I went, you know, I've got nothing on.
Yeah.
Plested was doing like PA shows and had gone back into the studio to write stuff. James had replaced his band at that point and was also doing PA shows because of affordability. So I went, I've got no gigs. Prog rock I used to love when I was at the academy as well, like listening to Tool and Rush. So it was nice to go back to those roots and reconnect with the genre since I hadn't done it in so many years. And so yeah, Mick sent me some of the material and I was checking it out. And it was David's original material at that point as well. So I was just a couple of covers thrown in from the Crimson days. And I was like, okay, well, I'll do my homework. I'll Google who this guy is. So it's like David Cross, and Google comes up and goes, David Cross, King Crimson. I'm like,
yeah.
As in Gavin Harrison and Rob Fripp, and then, you know, start going through it. And I'm like, hang on, David Cross. I know that. It hadn't clicked at this point. So I'm like, I know David Cross, King Crimson.
Yeah.
And then it went. It was like, holy shit.
Yeah. David Cross.
This is that guy. He's that violinist.
Yeah.
Like,
that's something.
All of us, it was just off a phone call, and because Mick thought I look like I know what I'm doing behind the kit. I didn't have
that's amazing.
I didn't have anything on my website that suggested I could remotely play prog. Even though it was in my ballpark, and Mick's got such an eye and an ear for stuff like that. Like, he can sit down and watch a show and be like, that, you know, that drummer should be on this gig. And it's like, oh, well, he was at one point.
That's something.
And so, yeah, it's really thanks to Mick and Sheila, the keyboard player, who got me involved and helped get me up to speed as well with a lot of the stuff. You know, Mick would come here.
Yeah.
You know, right before rehearsals, we'd have like 2-3 back-to-back full band rehearsals, and Mick would come here for a day the week before and just blitz stuff and absolutely grill me. And then we'd get in a room together and run it. And I know I wasn't the only guy up for the job as well. I know they auditioned a few guys, and I'm very grateful I made the cut. And it's, you know, don't get me wrong, it's been a learning curve. It's not been
sure
kind of gig you can just walk into. Initially, when I got the gig, they gave me 3 tunes to audition. And then when I got the job, they sent me through the set list.
Okay.
Of material that I had to learn, and rehearsals were a week later.
Oh, wow.
And then so it was got the job, here's the material. We start rehearsal. We do 2 back-to-back day rehearsals in a week, and then we fly out that. So we did rehearsals Wednesday, Thursday, and then we got on the flight on Friday to go to the show, and it was 2 back-to-back shows in Poland.
Oh my gosh.
No, Czech Republic. We were in Czech Republic. And it was such a wild, like, you've got a week to get this material down, go to rehearsals and play the gig. And that was a wild time.
I can imagine. I mean, Bill Bruford's stuff is not easy to play. His playing.
Yeah, that was the thing. And I was trying to go in at it, trying to be Bill as well, and be Gavin and be Craig, and be Pat Mastelotto.
Right.
And be Jeremy Stacey. I'm trying to be all of these guys at the same time. And we finished the first show in Prague, and I remember David he was like, look, lovely, great show. Haven't felt like this after getting off stage in years. Just one thing. And I was like, absolutely, like anything. What do you need? You want a cup of tea? Like, I'll go make it.
There you go.
And he goes, no, he goes, just be yourself.
There you go.
I don't want to be on stage with Gavin or Pat or Craig. Like, I want to be on stage with Jack.
I like that. That is great.
That was such a nice eye opener to kind of go back to the roots of being creative. Like, stop trying to, like, have influences from other people, but you're not playing their show. You're playing your show.
Right.
And it was such a nice, relaxing. And the second show was just, it was a dream. Because all of a sudden it's like, I'm not worrying about like, I've got to put this Gavin fill in, or I've got to play this.
Right.
It's like, you can take that influence, but do what you want to do with it.
That's great. Yeah, that's the way to do it. Because I bet you some bands that they got, like I told you about the Musical Box, that tribute Genesis band, they want to play it everything note for note.
Yeah.
Exactly as well. They're doing a big stage production too. So they're, instead of what you're trying to do, being you, they want to be actually the player. So I guess it depends on the band.
Well, it's also sometimes the audience as well. And this is no detriment to the audience. Prog rock fans are diehard. They love this genre, man.
Yes, they do.
And they know the music inside out. Like, I would argue there's fans that we've played in front of that know those drum parts better than I do.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they do.
And so before I was in the band, Mick's got a great story of being on stage. I can't remember what song it is that they started. They were doing a Crimson cover, and they're in Germany, and this guy in the front row just goes, "It's too fast, slow down."
Oh my gosh. Oh man. Yeah, they know their stuff.
There's some people you kind of can't please, right? Like, but again, they know the material, they know what they want to hear, so it's been very refreshing that when I do get to speak to fans that come and see the shows, that they hear the influences, they hear the bits that I've taken from different guys, and that they're complimentary of what I bring to the table as well, which is really great. And especially when we did the tour in the States in October, like the detail of listening from the crowd in the States was just phenomenal. Like, there was a guy that we spoke to, was a guy that I spoke to. We were one of the final shows. I can't remember exactly where we were, and annoyingly, I can't remember the guy's name. Lovely fella, and he literally pulled out every bit from each song that I would like. The Bill Bruford part that I'd play in Lark's Part 2. He was like, "I love that you put that fill in."
Yeah.
And then when you were doing Red, it's like, I love that you stole Gavin's part from that. And, little things like that. Oh, Easy Money. I love that you've got Jeremy Stacey's fill in there. And I'm like, no one has spotted this before.
That's funny.
But it's just, again, like, amazing set of ears. And this crowd is so diehard for the music. And it was so complimentary, that fact as well, that's heard.
Yeah.
It's not just, the drummer's doing this thing. It's like they know what you're doing. It was so nice. Such a humbling experience as well.
Are you going to do more shows with David coming up this year or next year?
We've got a couple in the calendar. I actually had a phone call with them earlier. We've just had one booked in for Italy. And we've got one in the UK, funnily enough. We don't do really any shows in the UK.
Okay.
So we've got that coming up, and then we might do a self-promoted show in London again at some point, but TBC on that one.
Oh, Prague is big in Italy. Oh, they love
In
their
Europe, it's
Prague.
huge. One of my favorite runs with David and the gang was doing Poland. We did a week in Poland.
Oh, really?
And it was a blast. It was a blast. And the tech crew we had on that, second to none.
It's nice to have it's great to have a good tech crew and a great sound man.
Yeah, man.
That's always makes or breaks a show. I've done shows.
It makes life so much easier for you as well. And it's not like you lean on them. It's just it becomes an extension of the team. You know, they help you to do your job. You help them to do theirs. You know, it's not, you hear horror stories of people that go on tour and they treat their tech teams like crap. And it's
right.
That because they're not there to work for you. They're there to work with you.
Right. Exactly. Okay. So did you have a tech crew of setting up all the instruments, or did you have to?
When we did Poland, yes. So I had a guy called Blaze.
Okay.
Lovely guy. I stay in contact with him every now and again when I go back to Poland for like holidays or other shows. I always reach out and just be like, look, are you free? Let's grab a beer. So he was helping with drums, and then there was a few other guys, Michael, who helped Sheila, Mick and John with keys.
Great.
And David. So it's like I had my guy kind of thing because there was a lot of kit.
Oh yeah, you have a lot of stuff. So can we take a look at some of your drums here? You telling me you had these custom cymbals that you use?
Yeah, sure, man. So there's a company called T Cymbals in Turkey.
Right.
Run by a lovely fella called Arbak Dal. He used to be a sound tester for, I think it was Zildjian back in the day, and then decided he didn't like how much things were being put on the shelf for and like the upmarket side of things. He's like, I know how much these cost to make, and we're not going to change that. We're just not have such high profit margins, and it's almost like it's extortion to the people that want to play that kind of equipment.
Right.
But because of who he is, and he knows how cymbals are made, and he knows like the formulas of each cymbal, like recipe, like the secret recipe for
he does. Okay.
He's
great.
He's figured all that out. So I can go to him and be like, oh, I'm looking for a, like this, for example, is pretty much a Zildjian Constantinople 18-inch crash.
Okay. Oh.
And a friend of mine has one, and we put them side by side. And with the exception of pitch, like they're identical in terms of sound, sustain, harmonics. They're brilliant. This is a little custom one that I had Arbak knock up for me. I really liked the raw bell sound. And generally it's quite thick as rides go. So it's quite high pitched as well to a degree. But it just does everything I want to get out of a ride.
Oh, that's nice. That kind of cymbal you could do a lot with.
Yeah. I mean,
a lot of different sounds with that.
What I have been learning is, you can have like one thing that is a by and large gets you out of jail free for most of it. But if I'm doing anything where I'm throwing mics on this kit, for example, and I need like specific things, I've got other cymbals lying around where it's like, oh no, I need that bell needs like a nice ping, and it needs to be bright, like proper finished rather than classic finished cymbals, for example, like that sort of thing. If I want to switch out and have more specific sounds, then I can.
Oh, now I see you have rototoms in the back there. I still have my rototoms. They were always fun to play.
They're a recent acquisition. I had a set years ago, actually. I had 8, 10, 12, 14.
Okay.
Just for a laugh initially, to be perfectly honest. And then when I got into like the height of doing functions and corporate events and stuff like that, it actually turned out to be really convenient for travel to just take them off. I can put all the toms in one bag.
Right.
And I wouldn't need, I didn't need a big car. I just take a nice bass drum, a good snare. I would take my 4 rototoms, because I had a 14 as well.
Okay.
And they all go in one case with the hardware, and I'm taking 3 bags to a gig.
Oh, that's nice. That's
It was a
easy.
dream.
The reason I got into rototoms, I saw Bill Bruford play with a set of rototoms. He was in a band called UK.
Yeah.
And this was after King Crimson.
Right.
I think after he played with Genesis, toured with them, and then he played with Eddie Jobson, and Alan Holdsworth was in the band.
Yeah.
The amazing Alan Holdsworth and John Wetton.
Oh, okay.
So those are some of the big prog guys.
You know, you listen to some of the most creative players, and they get to use them to their full extent of like pitch bending notes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think it was Gavin once I was watching who was doing like a demo, and he was just going wild.
He's something.
He's really something. I think he just won like Prog Drummer of the Year last year as well in like one of the UK magazines, and it's no wonder why. The guy's so articulate. He's so precise. His articulation, his dynamics, his groove feel, and his creativity as well. Like I've still got, in fact, they're under my laptop right now. So I've still got the 2, well, there's now 3, but 2 books by Gavin, Rhythmic Illusions.
Oh, I never saw those. Huh.
Rhythmic Illusions and Rhythmic Perspectives. It's all about displacement or modulation or hiding time. And, you know, I come back to them every January, February when things get a little quieter, and you
get
really,
to read them. Wow,
really get to practice. But I've been going through those books for like 10 years.
Did you ever get
like 4 pages in?
Have you ever met any of these drummers? Some of these drummers? Have you got a chance to meet any of them through David?
I've met Gavin at a few drum shows in London. I was a lot younger then. I was probably 16. Half my life ago. Wow. Met Craig. I've met Steve Gadd at drum shows and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, Steve's great too.
It's normally just going to drum shows and like music things and just getting the opportunity to bump into them.
That's the way to do it. Then you get some tips on how to improve your playing. So what do you plan? What's your plans now going forward this year? More shows with other artists? What does it look like?
More shows with other artists. I've picked up a gig recently. A band called Storm Diva have reached out and have asked me to play drums for them. So I'm going to jump into that.
Okay.
It's kind of female-fronted prog band. It's kind of like Carnatica, but a little bit more, way less orchestral, way more down into like the traditional rock vibes. The arrangements are really, really, really cool. I really like the way that they shape and arrange their songs. So I'm looking forward to, we jump into rehearsals on Sunday actually. So I'm looking forward to getting in and starting with that. I've got a handful of shows with David coming up. And then from, I think it's September, Carnatica are back out on tour doing the UK and Europe over a few months.
Man.
And then I've got a handful of like theatre jobs coming.
That is really neat. Wow.
I actually had a phone call last week from a music director friend of mine saying, there's a run of Grease the musical that's coming into Oslo and touring the rest of Norway. Would you be keen to jump on it?
Oh, wow. That's got to be exciting.
Norway. Yeah, I'll look at making the dates work though, because there's some of it that clashes with David. And so it's just making sure that I can get either I don't know if it's the kind of thing like whether I take the contract and I have to commit to the whole thing, or do I take the contract and can I sub out certain shows?
Yeah.
So it's just got to figure that out. There's a lot of admin and organizing in my
these are good problems.
These are very good problems.
These are problems drummers would love to have out there. Yeah. Oh man, I got to take this gig. No, I'm taking that gig. It's fantastic that you're able to make a living doing this and you're enjoying it so much. I mean, Jack, it's great. I've been able to talk to you because you're an inspiration.
Thank you very much.
Who's ever out there, drummers out there, Jack is an inspiration and you can do it.
Thank you very much.
That's true. It's only come from my heart here that I can see it.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that, man.
I know good players and I can tell that you're into it. Now, the one last thing before we go, I'm not crazy about drum solos anymore. I used to like bands that did drum solos. I don't know. For some reason, do you like doing drum solos? There's a tough one for you.
It's a very. I have mixed feelings about this, to be perfectly honest. So yes, I'm going to go with yes.
Okay.
Because drum solos, they can happen in a couple of different ways. I find you get fixed drum solos where you're playing around figures and it's a set kind of form. You know, you've got a certain amount of bars and you can play within those restraints in that context. For example, when we do Starless with David Cross, you get to that breakdown in 13. Bow, bow.
Oh yeah,
bow,
right.
Bow, 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 bow.
Oh yeah, it fits there. Yes.
Yeah. That whole section goes around, and it's nice to just kind of play around and muck around in 13 and just throw stuff out there and see what happens. And it's a fixed kind of, although the solo changes every time, it's a nice way to play around figures and stuff like that. And then, not that we play it that often anymore, but when we do Schizoid Man, there's the big open drum solo, get to the end,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
it's open Bruford solo until blah, ba, ba, boom.
Yeah.
And I think I don't like it because there's nothing else happening. And that's not there's something to play along with this. It's just, I think if it's just drums, it's hard to make that. Especially in this genre.
Yeah, I agree. Especially, you're right.
You can do it like Sony used to do it where they'd get their artists in to promote their new line of drums, for example, and it would just be them playing around. And Chris Coleman is a master at this. You know, sit down, start on a concept, build the concept, get bigger, bring it back down. And it's a technique I tried to employ when I did that Schizoid solo. But then you're trying to do it in, 7/8 and have all these fun things and push stuff around. And it's like that for me is where it loses the magic, because drums is the only thing. If you make it too complex and too difficult, it can take away from the pleasure of listening to it. Like, yeah, it can be an amazingly complex technical solo piece.
Right.
If that groove gets lost, I find it hard to listen to. So it's easier then when you have music around it and something to phrase around.
That makes sense.
And push and pull with it. You can create tension and release by playing over the bar line or round the hits, playing through the hits. It's a lot harder to do that then. Maybe I'm just saying I don't like it because I'm not that well versed in it.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I need to do my homework.
I agree, but sometimes it's just a show-off thing, and that's what kind of, instead of being within the music, whereas there's a solo in the music part of the song, it's just stopping and doing this, as fast as you can, or as fast as your foot pedal can go. Or fast,
and I get it. Like, music is a language, and when you're hearing everyone play together, it's a conversation. And so then when you go around and you do your solos, it's here's what I want to say, and you can say that around everyone else and what they're saying at the same time. When it's just an individual solo, it's kind of like, here's me yelling at you.
That's true. You're right. So
sometimes that can be really good. Like good drummers can do it, like Chris Coleman. Good drummers can do it.
I got to check him out, Chris Coleman. Yeah.
Amazing drummer.
I got to check him out. So the last question, what do you think, where's music going, modern music, with all this AI stuff and able to come up with a song and with your laptop and put it up and now you're a star?
I think to follow that, it's tough because
I agree.
Anyone can do it, and it makes it very easy to do it. That doesn't mean to say that it gets done well. So anyone now can write a song as long as they've got a laptop. You can just sing it into your phone.
Right.
It does make the market very, very saturated, and with the powers of AI coming in, that's a tough one.
It is.
It can be hugely advantageous, and I'm not gonna sit here and lie. Like, I will hold my hands up. I use AI when I'm mixing drums because it's like, okay, I can't get this kick or this snare to sound how I want, and you can get plugins now that just listen to a sample of your audio and then they go, oh, well, you want it to sound like this. Here's a rough preset, and then you tweak from there.
Yeah.
But it gets you 70% of the way. So it's definitely advantageous when it's used in the right way. And I think with regards to where it's going, it depends on what I think audiences do with it. If audiences are happy and content listening to material that's been knocked up in an afternoon and doesn't really sound good and there's no thought or feeling that's gone into it, then that's on them. But it's also really going to make great artistry stand out.
That's true. You're right.
Really good, talented songwriters are now just going to sit in the upper echelon of musical ability because there's so much like down here clouding that space.
That's true. You're right.
One thing that creeps through that's incredible is going to seem like the best thing in the world, right?
Right. That's true. And I think the things with social media too, like anybody now can think they're a star. Go on Facebook, going on Instagram. Hey, look it's me. I'm special. I'm important. And the same thing with music. Anybody now thinks that they could just set up something, create a song. Oh, I'm a star now. I've got a hit. But
if you can get that song that's the popularity vote that everyone uses for their little 15-second video.
Right. But the live music is still happening. So, you're playing live. People are seeing you play. Other artists play. So that's the deal breaker there. Even though this is all going on.
Change. I don't think that's ever going to change.
No.
People are always going to love live music because of the entertainment fact. It's like going to watch a sports event.
That's true. You're right. That's never going to change.
It's never going to change. There's AI and things that can help with it and aid it.
Right.
I don't think it's ever going to take away from what that brings to the table. Like going and seeing a band or an artist play live, there's nothing else like it.
No, there isn't. And especially playing in a band like David Cross, you guys are top notch. You're in a level band. It's great. You're playing with some great musicians there.
Thanks,
and that only makes you play better.
Yeah, I mean, but the one thing I love about playing with David as well is every show's different. There's and again, that's you're playing to your audience for that as well. If you've ever seen King Crimson more than once, you're not seeing the same show.
Yep.
And so it's different if you're going to see a pop artist, for example, like if you're going to see Taylor Swift. To a degree, chances are those shows are all roughly going to be the same. Arrangements might be slightly different, solos will change.
Yep.
But the songs are songs. Whereas for us, it's kind of like, well, there's ultimate freedom. If we want to take this section in a completely different direction, we will.
That's great. Yeah, that I like. You guys are improvising. But King Crimson did a lot of improvising back in the day. They had a lot of improvising songs that never made it on record.
David really wants to get together and do more of. And I think there was at one point we wanted to do, he wanted to do a whole show of improvised music. So no one in the crowd knows what it's all new material. And
that's great. Challenging.
Yeah, well, yes and no. I think the reason we didn't do it in the end is because it was like, let's do half and half at the very least. Because if people are going to come and see these shows, they're coming to see material. They're coming to listen to songs that they want to listen to.
Right, exactly.
If you advertised it as a show that's all improvised, it'd be very different. But we just didn't feel confident enough with where the project was at the time that would land in the way we wanted it to.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's different when you were Crimson back in the day, because it was like, okay, if we want to do a show of purely improvised music, we can and we will, and you're still going to buy tickets to the next show.
That's true. It's true.
So it's slightly different in that realm. But it's something I really want to try.
Well, I hope you make it back to the East Coast of New Jersey someday, because I want to see you in person play. That's for sure, Jack.
We're working on it.
Thank you again for your time. I know last time it was a messed up video, but there was no glitches here, and I appreciate it. And keep the great music coming. And it's fantastic that you're playing and doing it.
Thank you so much, Dennis. Thank you for your kind words. Thank you for inviting me to be on and be involved. I really appreciate it.
Okay, take care now. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.